2 of In Your Ear, which in itself is unique in the world. Although tonight, quite seriously, we have a very special guest. A gentleman named Andrew has come in and offered his body, which will be channeling the spirit, the character. I guess he'll explain it better for us, by the name of Bashar, or something we call Bashar. Bashar, please introduce yourself.
All right. First of all, allow me to send greetings and thank you all for your willingness to participate in this interaction in whatever way and on whatever level you are. Although we do present ourselves as being extraterrestrial in nature, what this does not mean in any way, shape, or form is that we are better than you. No, we are equal to you. Our focus is a bit more expanded, and that is our choice. But you, although not always allowing yourself recognition of the fact, have also chosen your particular focus. And though it is a bit narrower, a bit more finely focused, there is nothing better or worse in any reality. So first of all, again, allow us to say we are not presenting ourselves as being in any way greater or having something to offer you that you do not already contain. Also allow us to say that we do not in any way, shape, or form insist that you believe that this interaction is what we are presenting it to be. It is not important anyway, and we cannot, at least empirically, prove it at this time. Perhaps in 10 to 15 of your years, our civilization will be able in that way to interact with yours, but for now, what is important to us is the information that we do transmit to your society. And therefore, if you will simply listen to the words and allow them to interact in any way with you that they will, you will allow yourself to get much from this interaction. But again, we do not insist that you believe it, and therefore will not in any way attempt to convince you. Is there a specific question?
Actually, there are several specific questions, Bashar. One thing I'd like to do is tell our listeners right away, though, that they are free to call in as usual to our program. The phone number is 744-5402. If you have questions for Bashar, or me, or comments, or anything of that nature, do feel free. The airwaves are yours. Bashar, I was first made aware of your channeling through a call we had gotten from one of our viewers, or excuse me, one of our listeners, letting me understand that you are actually a voice that originates from another part of the universe. Could you tell us how is it that you channel through a human body?
Oh, thank you very much. And do allow us to begin by saying that your idea of radio waves is, shall we say, the exception rather than the rule in civilized civilizations and societies. The idea being that it is not a very, shall we say, conducive methodology for communication. From our perspective, one of the most sensitive transmitters and receivers, or transceivers, if you will, is consciousness. We do not, as you have said, come down and inhabit the body of the channel. No. We simply, using technology from our society, from our planet, are able to amplify, project our consciousness, our intentions, our thoughts. However, we are a telepathic society at this timing, and thereby have no language as such. Therefore, the words you are hearing are the translation through the mentality of the channel using his memory banks, his vocabulary, and thereby may be somewhat limited, at least at this timing, by his understandings. Although we are able in that sense to bring through much information that he is not aware of. And again, it is not an inhabitation of the body. Our civilization is much as yours. If you were to consider that we were more advanced technologically than you, it would only be by approximately 150 of your years. But we do have physicalized bodies. Our star, though not visible from your planet, for we are, shall we say, of a slightly different dimensional vibration, If we were to overlap our dimension of existence, of reality with yours, our star would lie approximately 500 light years toward the constellation you label Orion. Our planet, again, is currently telepathic, though in our history we did have a ancient language. And therefore, since we recognize that all creation is a manifestation of light, the unconditional loving light of what you label God, what we call all that is, we recognize ourselves as living light. We have named by our ancient language our planet Esasani. Means place, and Sasani means living light. Therefore, thus we have named our world.
Tell me a little bit about Esasani.
Oh. Again, all beings upon our planet are telepathically linked, so we are never out of touch with each other. We do not, in the way that you understand, have governmental structures at this timing. For everything functions by what you might call synchronicity. Synchronicity is the simple recognition that everything in existence fits and has a place. And when you are conscious of this and act that way, all needs are met. Everyone is exactly where they need be at any given moment to learn and to grow and to continue to explore the reality they have chosen. So therefore, our planet, shall we say, exists with a constant flow between beings. We do not have what you would label a monetary system, for we place equal value on the services rendered by any individual, and therefore do not have, shall we say, a removed symbology, an economic standard, and do not make the separation. Therefore, everyone always has and gets what they need when they need it. This is also true in your society, and in that sense, that is one of the ideas that we are here to share. That if you will just begin to recognize that in any given now moment, you have everything you need to proceed, you will begin to live from that now moment and take the advantages that each now moment has to offer, rather than in that way living from a premise of an imagined past and a dreaded future.
Thank you, Bashar. We have a caller we're going to put on the air now.
Oh.
Hello, Julie, you're on the air.
Oh, I am?
Yes.
Oh,
you have
okay.
a question for Bashar?
Oh, excuse me?
You have a question for Bashar?
Yeah, I do. I wanted to say something first. Can I say it?
All right. Please do.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to say is that I happen to click on the radio, and all I do is I read a lot of books on channeling, and I'm reading a book right now. I'm in the last chapter of one of my Seth books. And so
what a
that's
coincidence.
Kind of what interests me in calling. But I have a question because I do something called conscious channeling.
Ace.
And it's been channeled into me that I could be from Pegasus, the constellation Pegasus, and I'm wondering if Bashar could shed some light on, I guess, Pegasus and the beings that originate from there, if there are any, because maybe that's not right. You know, I'm not sure.
The idea is that individuals, when discussing their origins, this is quite an arbitrary subject, for you are all multidimensional, infinite, and eternal. The eternal aspect simply means you have no true beginning and no true end. Therefore, since your soul, colloquially speaking, has always existed and always will in that way, you have done it all.
Right.
You have been everywhere and yet nowhere. You are from everywhere and yet nowhere in particular.
Wow,
now,
that's
your
what I tell
particular...
people when they ask me where I'm from. I say I'm from everywhere and nowhere. That's interesting.
All right. Again, synchronicity is the simple allowance that incidences occurring at the same time will deliver anything you need. But the idea is this. Your excitement, your attraction in that way to Pegasus, which is a constellation and not a particular star, is your indication that you do have some connection from it. Now, as to the specifics, we are not exactly aware of every single aspect of reality and are not in that way in contact with a civilization from that area. But in that way, you obviously are. And if you will trust what you get, you will then be able to channel any information that is pertinent to you or will be of service to others from you.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
And to you as well. How exciting.
Yeah, it's interesting to get calls from all over. I don't know if that's very, very much different for you to take such...
Well, again, because we function from the idea of synchronicity, we always trust that anything we attract in any given moment will be exactly that which will allow us to facilitate the ideas we share with your civilization.
Bashar, I first attended a sharing with you a number of Earth days ago. I wasn't surprised. I heard a tape of a previous sharing before that. I heard a recording. And a lot of the questions asked and a lot of the answers given seemed almost self-apparent to me. They were very common sense and very easily arrived at.
Oh, thank you very much for your willingness to open up those portions of yourself. Do proceed.
As well, a lot of the questions I heard seemed to be the same questions, although the answers themselves, being consistent, were the same. I'm wondering why people, although hearing the answers to a question, would ask the question again.
Do understand from our perspective, the idea of a repeat is a belief system. And because we are spontaneous beings existing within what you label, or shall I say consciously existing in with what you label the now moment, we in that way always look at any interaction as the first time. And what the advantage to this is we never lose excitement. We never get bored. And in fact, you will notice that the answers will always slightly differ, allowing to shed different nuances, different light on the matter, if you will.
Okay, Bashar, I was told that you had a self-aware computer. Could you describe what a self-aware computer is?
The idea simply being that the terminology computer is not literal, but it is the closest translation we have. And the idea being that our interfacing with such a computer is directly, mentally, telepathically. Therefore, we do not have keyboards and this type of idea. The computer itself, shall we say, is programmed, loosely speaking, as a reflection of the individual user, and thereby it is keyed to the individual user. When we say self-aware, we only mean this in the very limited sense, for its purposes are quite specific, and it will only be self-aware in that regard. One of the greater purposes for the computers upon our spacecraft is, shall we say, the extrapolation of coordinate vibrations that, when plugged in, allow us to what you call travel. Our method of travel is quite different from anything that you have heard of. For from your society, you assume and presuppose that you travel in space, in time. We, however, understand, although that is true when you believe it, and then you will experience it, that another truth, shall we say, is that space and time are the property of an object. Objects, loosely speaking, are made up of vibration, frequency. One particular aspect of that frequency is space-time coordinate. Therefore, if you have two, what you label identical objects, object at location A, object at location B, the reason they are not completely identical is because of that component of their space-time coordinate, their place in space and time. What we are able to do is isolate the vibration that we are and factor out that one particular aspect of the vibration that relates to space-time. The computer then, utilizing matrix extrapolation, can plug in the new space-time coordinate, and when the isolation field is then removed, the object is immediately now residing in the new space-time location. Therefore, we do not truly travel in that way through space. You may say that space travels around us, loosely speaking. You understand that all traveling in space will always be, in that sense, an extrapolation of traveling within consciousness.
According to your according to your description, I guess I would have to understand that. Bashar, tell me what you know about Andrew.
Andrew is an individual, much as you are upon your planet, with a normal life, a wife and children, who, shall we say, in between lives, colloquially speaking, had made an agreement with our stream for particular reasons. For other particular reasons, we will not be too specific about these particular agreements, for they are part of his discovery, and we wish to allow him the joy of that discovery. But the idea is that he, loosely speaking, made an agreement to allow the circumstances of his life to be such to allow our energy to channel through him at a particular timing, at a particular, shall we say, age. So therefore, the things that happened in his life, although to him seemed to have no particular end, were giving him the tools in that way to be able to participate in these interactions. He had no conscious, shall we say, excitement about doing such a thing, and at first was a bit resistant. However, because allowance occurred and our energy did come through, he then, shall we say, evaluated what was coming through and deemed that it was significant, did provide a service, and has continued in a trusting relationship with us to transmit this information. And we thank him.
Andrew had a difficult time at the beginning accepting that what he was saying. No, excuse me. I'm going to have to rephrase this to give a little history. Andrew at first only heard of you, Bashar, through recordings of another person channeling you at a different location.
Yes,
consciously.
so.
Okay. He, although very accepting of his thought patterns, decided he would attempt to channel you himself. Recorded these sessions and played them back. He originally had doubts. Can you tell me something about those doubts?
Oh, yes. First of all, again, from our perspective, doubt is not a lack of trust. It is an infinite trust in something you do not prefer. Upon your society, shall we say, many individuals consider this to be quite insane. Therefore, being from your society, at least in this lifetime, he too had those considerations. Am I going crazy? Is this really happening? Is it another being? Is it another aspect of my own being? Well, what wound up happening was the information coming through was so compelling to him, he did not care, and has had, shall we say, some personal validations that we are indeed what we are presenting ourselves to be. But again, to us, that is not important. Simply, the ongoing willingness to be in this trusting relationship is what allows us to continue to communicate with your society. Also, we are communicating through your society at this time through several channels. There is Daryl Anka, who is in your Los Angeles area, and one other one that the channel is aware of is a female in your Japan. There is also, shall we say, at least loosely speaking, our energy being channeled in your New Zealand area. So therefore, he is only one, shall we say, of the individuals who made an agreement, but he does have a specific relationship to us, which we will not discuss now.
Okay, we've got a caller on the air.
Oh.
Hello, Stephen, you're on the air.
Hi.
You have a question for Bashar?
Yes, I do. Earlier I heard you speaking about travel. And the way, your means of travel via psychic energy or whatever exactly it was, sounds very similar to a lot of traveling that I've done, not physical, but through psychedelics. Is there a relation between that kind of travel and the psychedelic experience?
Shall we say, in a sense, to understand your psychedelics or drugs are simply a tool. And what they allow you to do is, in an acceptable way, access other portions of your consciousness. Allow us now to share with you, however, although this will be a bit hard to swallow by certain individuals on your planet, that the drug does not produce the effect. Your consciousness produces the effect, and again uses the drug as an acceptable excuse to do so.
Right.
Once, however, you have provided for yourself that form of consciousness and understand you have created it, you can do it anytime without the symbol.
I consider the drug an access tool.
A trigger,
It's not
if you
in the
will.
drug, it's in you.
All right. But the idea is if what you are experiencing is what you label upon your planet astral travel, it is similar. For when you are in that form, you can walk from point A to point B, or you can simply think about point B, your Eiffel Tower, for instance, and simply be there. This is the similarity.
Okay, thanks.
And to you. And also, if you do find yourself in that state, astrally speaking, if you are to key into how communicating with me allows you to feel the feelings you are getting by communicating with me, you will be able to visit our planet. In this way, this will be the only way, for now, members of your society can physically, so to speak, visit our society, astrally.
All right. I'll keep working on it.
Thank you for your
All
call,
right, do
Steve.
not have to work, have fun.
Bashar,
Oh,
you mentioned something that makes me a little curious.
oh, very good.
You were talking about systems of value in the world that you're from, that you understand that the work from everybody has equal value. You mentioned as well trying to communicate such a system to people on Earth. What I'm interested in is, could it be that you're mistaken? Could it be that that's not the best system?
Shall we say there is no best, only different? For us, it is the best system, for we live in unconditional love and light and peace and harmony upon our planet. All our needs in that sense are always there, and we still expand, still grow, does not get boring. So again, we are not purporting it to be better than any other system, simply an alternate system which you have access to, or we would not be able to communicate with you. One of the impediments, shall we say, upon your planet to beginning to live in this way is that individuals, rather than doing what truly moves them, truly excites them for a living, they pick the thing which can pay the bills. This, in that sense, loosely speaking, using your slang, screws up the whole system, for it has people in the jobs that do not want to do them. One of the things you will notice if individuals will begin, in that sense, to do what excites them, is everything will still get done. There is individuals on your planet excited to do each and everything, down to, believe it or not, cleaning your toilets. Therefore, from our perspective, there is a bit of a confusion in terms of what you truly wish to be and what you will settle for on your planet.
I'm a little concerned with your mission in that case. It was my understanding that Bashar didn't make judgments.
In that sense, do you sense that we just have?
Yeah, I do.
In what way?
In that you mentioned that there is no better system, but you wish to communicate your system to us.
We wish to communicate the idea that individuals can do what moves them, can do what excites them. That is all. Not that they must, not that it is better, but the individuals who wish to do so, we are providing inroads. If you still feel there is some judgment, allow us to clarify, for we never judge.
Okay, I'll get back to that.
Please do.
There are other, we got a caller on the air. I'm going to go back to that first.
All right, thank you.
Bill, you're on the air.
Yeah, if you're speaking through the percentage of Andrew using his mental processes and capacities, why do you speak with an accent?
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, again, as we had said at the onset, the channel was introduced to our energy by listening to another individual channel it. So part of what you are hearing is that. However, understand, we are far more alien to your society than you might at first imagine. Therefore, the interpretation of foreignness, alienness, takes this form.
And one more question. You said your solar system is located 500 light years away?
Yes, again, though, it is not visible right now to your eyes.
What's the nature of your star that you...
Similar to yours, a bit greener and therefore a bit hotter.
greener? We are aware of no green stars. The spectrum of stars ranges from red to orange to yellow to white to blue-white. There are no green stars.
All right, if you say so. However, this is our reality. Therefore, our star is a bit hotter and our orbit is a bit farther than yours from our star.
Thanks for your call, Bill. Would you say that the sharing of knowledge is good?
Oh, yes. And in that sense, that is one of the, shall we say, goals of our exploration. Seeing just how many more ways all that is expresses itself throughout the multiverse. Again, I use the term multiverse for what you label a universe is but a small portion of existence.
If you say something is good, wouldn't that be in effect be making a judgment?
Be more specific. In what way? Do understand there are limitations of your language where one thing being relevant in a particular conversation may have an entirely different meaning out of context.
Any event has, as I understand it, has both positive and negative effects.
Yes.
I might say that a death of a human, and no, I'll change the example. I might say that that ice cream is good and that it tastes good, but I might say it's bad because it adds calories and cholesterol to my system.
All right. To us, these are simply belief systems and then judgments based on the belief systems. Is there something specific that you mean?
Yes. In the issue of saying that something is good,
Such as?
ice cream,
Oh,
I have assigned a character to it. Something that I don't know objectively, but something that I can only know from subjective experience.
all right. It is an expression in that way of a preference.
This is a judgment.
No, the idea is expressing your preference. I prefer that. I do not prefer that is simply observation. Saying I do not prefer that and it therefore stinks is a judgment.
Do you have preference?
We have preference, but we never judge or invalidate that which we do not prefer.
But I don't understand the difference between judgment and preference.
Judgment is invalidating something or assigning that it is having less quality than something else. Preference is simply seeing how you vibrate, you feel toward a particular idea.
I'm going to let our callers know, as a reminder, part of my duty is to let you know what you're listening to. This is WXCI Danbury. The program you're listening to is In Your Ear. I'm your host, Chris Cronin. With us tonight, we have a special guest. We will call Bashar. I suppose, Bashar, I'm just going to, excuse me, you can call in at 744-5402 if you have questions for Bashar. Bashar, explain how we don't We call you Bashar. You don't have the name Bashar.
No, we have no names as such. As we have said, are telepathically linked and can, in that sense, hone into the signature vibration, if you will, of any individual. However, upon your planet, you have names, and therefore, we, in that sense, allowed the first channel in that way who chose us to subconsciously choose a particular word upon your planet that had some significance to him, and which translates as messenger, translates as simply the person.
Okay, I wanted to know if there is music on your planet.
Yes, it is far less structured than your idea, for again, we are quite spontaneous. The, shall we say, instrumentation, if used, is quite simplistic. String-like, bell-like, wind-like instruments. Our scale is a bit simpler than yours. But again, there is not so much the idea of top 10 hits.
Yeah, of course.
And much more the idea of spontaneous creations, which always attract, synchronistically, exactly that audience that wishes to partake of it.
Can you sing a song from us from your planet?
Not at this time. There would be in that way a translation difficult. However, if in fact we do meet face to face, which is not necessary from our end, but would be quite pleasurable, then we can.
So if I were to tap into your world, I'd be able to understand the music? If I were tapping into...
Loosely speaking, far more able when we meet if we are face to face when we play it for you. There will be a specific range of vibrations you will be able to perceive, some which you will not.
Okay, I've got a caller. Tim, hello, you're on the air.
Yes, hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
Could you put spirit guides?
The idea is that everyone has them. However, they are unobtrusive, relatively remain in the background. They communicate to you, if you choose in that way to even acknowledge them, many do not, very subtly. Not usually, although this is not impossible, with voices in your head and much more subtle, shall we say, wanderings of your attention toward a specific feeling, a specific smell, a passage in a book, and so forth. But if you wish to communicate with any idea acting as a guide to you, simply get in a meditative state, breathe deeply, relax, get, as you say, centered, and then recognize communication is twofold. It is your ability in that way to speak, but it is also your ability to listen. If you will, through your imagination, receive these communications and then trust that you are getting them, you will strengthen the link. If when you get an idea, you say, oh, that's just my imagination, you in that way will not strengthen the link and may not move beyond that point. It will always be up to you. But if you are willing to validate what you get, it will strengthen, it will grow, and it will become far more obvious to you that what is happening is happening. It is that simple.
Could you possibly tell me about my own personal spirit guide?
At this time, the idea is simply what we are receiving is that it would be far more conducive for you to begin to, in any way, shape, or form that is comfortable, channel this information and trust it so that you can have the joy of that discovery rather than it being handed to you. And that will be a measure of your trust, which will again strengthen the link. Simply, we will say we detect something or someone, colloquially speaking, is there. Is that all?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
And we thank you as well.
Thank you, Tim. The sharing that I went to, Bashar, Andrew had met with one of the people that was attending the sharing earlier. She had been wearing a crystal around her neck. Andrew let her know that Bashar has a difficult time with the idea that we perceive crystals incorrectly.
Okay, do understand. We do not have a difficult time, and it is not incorrect. Simply our perspective on the matter tends to differ with, shall we say, some of the mainstream ideas. We never invalidate, we never have difficulty, or as you say, a problem with any idea. Simply we provide our other perspective without insisting that you need take it. And that idea is that crystals are simply, again, externalized tools. You can use them as focusing stones, if you will. But the idea is you are still focusing your own consciousness, and the time will come whereby you function from your consciousness, not needing the externalized tools, and these will fall by the wayside. We, however, did not say in any way, shape, or form that they are not useful, and in fact are quite representative of the, shall we say, quasi-planar line between energy and matter. They are very close to existing in the between state. They are, shall we say, the first manifestation in that way of matter from energy.
Okay, we've got a caller on the air. Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, my name is Valerie, and I have a question, please.
All right. Do
Valerie.
proceed.
My question is, do you see our civilization, from your perspective, do you see our civilization becoming more compassionate as a whole toward the animal population here?
Oh, yes. We find many, shall we say, environmental attunements taking place. And this is even visible in your, shall we say, institution of recycling throughout the towns in your state, throughout the United States.
I'm referring in particular at this time to our habits of using animals for food and for research, and our present separateness and consciousness from them. A lot of us are working to erase these methods, and I think we feel quite discouraged at this time.
Do not need to. From our perspective, you are doing quite well. Shall we say, the suggesting will work better than the protesting. For the idea is there are alternate ways for this testing to be done without the use of the animals. And if you will begin to focus constructively in alternative technologies, you will then give them other alternatives. But this is occurring in that there is a rise in the mass consciousness of the knowledge of this type of abuse. Therefore, do not get discouraged. Continue to do what you are doing. You have an impact. You are doing it. If you concentrate on how far there is to go, you will not allow yourself to see how far you have come.
Okay, thank you very much.
And to you.
Thank you for your call, Valerie. Bashar, Andrew, the body of Andrew at this point is making body motions with his hands. Before the show, Bashar, you were in what you called a standby mode, and in that case, your Andrew's hands took different positions. Could you explain the different positions that the hands were?
Oh, yes, and thank you. These communications take place on many levels, for we express ourselves in many levels. You in your society tend to be, shall we say, on the one physical ideal level. The energy that comes through that you are in that sense perceiving is only a fraction of what is being sent. Some of it is expressed throughout the verbiage, the words. Some is expressed throughout the usage of the cavities of the body. Others spill over energy, so to speak, is expressed in the movement of the hands. Sometimes you will have the clicking of the teeth. There is also what you would label auric exchange of your particular personal electromagnetic biofield.
Okay,
the significance will simply be whatever it is you get out of it and will vary from individual to individual.
I'm going to go back to this situation of your economic system, or what you could loosely call your economic system.
We have no economic system. This is not even to be considered a form of one. It is direct exchange from consciousness to consciousness.
One of the difficulties I have with taking advice from other cultures is that the history of this planet at least shows that when people give advice from one culture to another, they often neglect the machine that makes the culture work. For instance, if someone from the United States were to go to Somaliland and suggest that they have that there is a better way to deal with doing something quite good, like making water drinkable.
Okay, but again, we are not saying this is better, only alternate, but do go on.
Okay, certainly. That there might be many things that make it important for someone from Somaliland to drink dirty water. Although physically dangerous and physically hazardous, it might be important that a Somali believes that that clean water is impure. And although we know what's better for them physically, they know what's better for them culturally. I'm concerned that any suggestions you might give might be inappropriate for our society. Could you comment?
Oh, thank you very much. When in that sense, issuing the alternative to your Somali population of drinking clean water, you will in general find certain individuals will like that idea. Do it. Benefit from it. Others will not, won't, and therefore continue to create the reality as they always have. We are not insisting or injecting anything within you, simply presenting it for those individuals who find themselves attracted to it so that they can have another alternative. There is no, in that way, insistence. And we are not, in that way, sharing anything with you that would shake apart the fabric of your reality. No. Simply, we allow each individual to realize that you can begin to validate yourself. And you can do so by beginning to focus on, with integrity, what excites you the most in life. When individuals ask us, what is my purpose in life? Our answer is your excitement. That is why something excites you. Again, excitement with integrity. So the idea is we simply present the option to members of your society to begin to validate your excitement. Validate what moves you, truly moves you. And as you say in your slang, cut yourself some slack to begin to act upon it. For it will never simply be any recognition that will render change within your physical reality. You are physical beings, and it will always be physicalized action that renders such change. So again, we simply provide an alternative and understand that there are individuals in your society seeking this alternative. The ones who are not simply will never hear of us, simply will never interact with us, and we will never that way impose upon them.
What truly moves you, Bashar?
I have many excitements, but my greatest excitement is these interactions, communicating with other societies. Again, seeing just how many more ways all that is expresses itself throughout the multiverse. To me, this is great joy. The joy of discovering other consciousness throughout the multiverse, which I understand to exist within my own. So therefore, as externally, I begin to, shall we say, explore other civilizations, other approaches, other aspects. I am also integrating that internal portion of myself. I also do like, as you say, music, and very loosely and are involved from time to time in what you would label sculpture. I also, in that sense, have, loosely speaking, my own scout craft and enjoy explorations in it.
What kind of explorations do you take part in?
Varies. Again, in general, these types of communications for, shall we say, not our civilization, but other civilizations that we are familiar with have approached a planet a bit too soon. And the outcome was somewhat, shall we say, violent. Therefore, we approach in this unobtrusive, non-interfering way, which allows individuals, again, who are excited by it, who are attracted by it, to interact with us without forcing upon anyone who is not interested to have to do so.
What if no one followed the advice of living a positive life on this planet, and we had destroyed ourselves?
Then I would not be speaking to you now.
Okay.
And this would all, in that sense, be occurring in a parallel reality. But the idea is there are many, many, many individuals upon your planet who are beginning to understand and take back their power to live their life in a conscious way according to what moves them. And they are finding they are far more effective doing what excites them than doing what they feel they need to do to get by, so that once in a while they can do what excites them. In general, what truly moves you, truly excites you, is a profession on your planet, is a way to attract the abundance that you need to continue to do that thing.
Once again, I'm concerned of the idea of missions that have played roles in this world, that have had all the best intentions.
May in that way we stop you for a moment.
Certainly.
We do not insist that you join this club. We do not ever say this is the only way. There is the difference.
I don't know how we could have the preservation of what matters and have no need to have preservation of what matters simultaneously.
Well, you are treading on, shall we say, infinite concepts. The idea is, in your reality, you create truths that are mutually exclusive of each other. It's this or that. But from our perspective, the ultimate truth, by definition, need be composed of all truths. Therefore, all truths are true for those who believe them. All realities are real for those who experience them. Paradox is when you insist that two truths must be mutually exclusive. But from a non-physical, infinite perspective, they are both true, simply different. From a finite viewpoint, that can be an apparency. But
So-
you are in that way treading on a non-physical concept, paradox. It is this and that, both.
So what I believe to be true is true.
Oh, yes.
So if I believe that the earth has never been destroyed, then it will never have been destroyed.
Most definitely, if you truly believe that, that will be your experience.
So then there is no issue of Earth being destroyed as long as we have people that believe it hasn't been destroyed.
From our perspective, we had not suggested that it would anyway. In fact, we have sensed from the energy, again, of your mass consciousness, a mass decision around approximately your 1980 year to not blow yourselves up by nuclear means. This does not mean there will not necessarily be skirmishes here and there, as your recent conflict illustrates. However, we are talking about, we do not sense global annihilation. And in fact, are seeing individuals beginning to become interested in integrating, in raising their level of consciousness and beginning to view the earth as extensions of themselves, treating it with the same respect.
I'd have to insist, Bashar, in that case then, because we individually and subjectively understand what is true, then you believe that the Earth had made that decision in 1980.
Oh, yes.
And that if
we are sharing that with you for you to believe or not believe, does not matter to us. Again, we do not insist you believe anything we say, but simply suggest that if it helps you, use it. It's free.
So in that case, because we all choose our own truths and what we believe is true, then whether we take your advice or not is unimportant so long as we believe we are comfortable.
Yes, and again, it is not so much advice as a sharing, an alternate option, a choice, another choice. That is all.
So
not the only choice, has no more weight than any other choice.
So I might suggest that anyone out there that wants to give themselves whatever they want, give yourself the insight to believe that what is happening, and there it is. There will be no war if you believe there is no war.
If you begin to act that way, if you begin to believe in peace and act as a peaceful person, your reality will change and others will seem to change. Let us remind you, however, you do not get peace by hating war. You get peace by loving peace and being the embodiment of peace, not telling others you can be peaceful, being a living example of an individual with inner peace of mind.
In this case, Bashar, I see definite contradiction in what you're saying about subjective reality.
All right, let's discuss it.
If I believe the Earth and the universe exists in a certain way as an individual, then that is the reality for me.
Yes.
Then how does it matter, or how is it relevant, that mass consciousness can save or destroy a planet?
In that sense, we interact with the mass. So from our perspective, this is our access. This is our point of view. You individually will always create your own particular universe from your perspective. Again, though, from our perspective, we can tune into an individual, we can tune into the mass.
So you have privilege to objective truth.
Shall we say we have access to other levels of consciousness? Would not call it privilege, would not call it higher.
In that sense, then, if you have access to objective truth, then regardless of what the individual believes about existence,
it is not in that sense objective truth. It is subjective truth for us.
So your subjective truth and my subjective truth can interfere.
Not interfere, simply be different.
So there is no concern about saving the planet Earth as long as anyone believes that they're happy.
We do not understand the extrapolation at all.
This is the issue. If there's such a thing as subjective truth and one person believes that Earth exists and the other does not, then it doesn't matter whether Earth has objectively been destroyed or not.
If an individual believes truly that Earth does not exist, they will not be upon Earth. If they are upon Earth, then we can assume, although they are saying they believe it, they do not. But we still do not quite understand what you are getting at.
If I, as an individual at this point, believe that the planet Earth will continue in its existence and
act that way,
and others believe that the planet Earth has been destroyed and acts that way,
the idea is more that For the purposes of this discussion, allow us to say that each individual will experience what they truly believe to be most likely. Individuals who truly believe they exist upon an earth that will blow itself up will exist upon an earth that will blow itself up. The individuals who believe they are on an earth that will not will exist on an earth that will not. However, at the point where those systems diverge, one population will experience the explosion, the other population in an alternate parallel reality will not. And to understand, reality is multifaceted. There are parallel realities, alternate realities. You are very strongly focused in what you consider to be a single focused reality. That is, however, a belief. That is, however, a standpoint. Therefore, everyone gets to experience whatever it is they truly believe. Does this make any sense?
So there are as many realities as there are subjective beliefs.
Exactly. Perfect.
So then the issue of the earth exploding or not is an objective truth. If we're concerned about it surviving.
In that way, and will seem objective to those who subjectively believe it.
Well, it's if we're concerned about it being destroyed and we're an individual, then it's the individual that has to do the worrying.
Do not have to worry. Simply in that way, act as an individual that does not believe that. It is always up to you to choose your beliefs and then act as though you are a person who has them.
So one person giving advice to the population of Earth certainly couldn't help the entire population.
In that sense, again, we do not wish or desire to help or save anyone, for we understand you all and each and every one of you have your own power. Simply, we are sharing with the individuals who choose to recognize it.
And those that choose not to
will never hear of us.
And if the entire population of Earth does not believe and is negative?
This has not occurred. This is why we are here. We are interacting.
So I guess the lesson would be that if we want the universe to be in a certain way, we would just believe it to be so and act as if it is so, and then the universe
the key
is that
will
way.
always be acting as it is so. You see, you on your planet act from the premise that seeing is believing. We, on the other hand, choose in that sense to have the perspective that believing is seeing. Therefore, you will always see what you truly believe. When you believe something, the only reason you create the circumstances to see it is because you act as though you believe it. You can do this negatively, but if you choose to change a belief, simply realize the old belief that you have. You must first own it to change it, then state the new belief and begin to use your imagination to project how an individual who already has the new belief would act, then act that way. You're already doing that with the beliefs you do not prefer. Simply be a bit more conscious about it. This is one of the ideas that we share.
Okay, I'm going to we're going way over time here. We've got a scheduled limit.
All right.
If you'd like a repeat of this, you can call the station at the end of the show, 744